Right now on Morning News Now, flashes of anger inside a New York courtroom as former President Trump briefly took the witness stand yesterday in that defamation damages trial involving writer Carroll. His clashes with the judge ahead of closing arguments today. Also, a first-of-its-kind execution making national headlines this morning. Kenneth Smith, a former inmate in Alabama, convicted for his role in the 1988 murder of a preacher's wife, put to death last night using nitrogen gas. The controversy now swirling over this lethal injection alternative. And on Capitol Hill, the future of a critical funding deal in the works for months is up in the air this morning. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell casting doubt on a spending package that would both tighten immigration laws and provide aid to Ukraine in its fight against Russia. We will tell you about the intense pressure McConnell is under from presidential candidate Trump. And later in the hour, we are just 6 months out from the Summer Olympic Games in Paris. We're going to talk to one of the gymnastics hopefuls on his quest for gold medal glory. Always a good morning when we have some of those athletes on.
6 months is the perfect time to count down for something as exciting as the Paris Olympics.
Tax season, not so much. We talk about that a little early.
Unless you're getting a return.
Yes.
Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Friday. I'm Joe Fryer.
Yeah, I'm Savannah Sellers. Happy Friday. We're going to get started right here in New York this morning, where closing arguments are set to get underway in the Carroll civil defamation damages trial.
It follows a tense day in court yesterday when former President Trump clashed with the judge before taking the stand. Trump was limited on what he could say on the witness stand because of the verdict in the previous trial, where he was found liable for sexual abuse and defamation. Despite all this, he still called Carroll's accusation false during his testimony, and the judge quickly ordered that claim stricken from the record. Carroll is seeking at least $10 million in damages. The case will soon be in the hands of the jury, which will now decide how much money Trump is going to have to pay. MSNBC anchor Yasmin Osugian and NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos join us now for more on this case. So, Yasmin, after all that, Trump was on the witness stand about, 3 minutes? So walk us through what we heard and what the jury can actually consider.
Yeah, all the anticipation, right, Joe and Savannah, and it was all just about 3 minutes. 2:16, he took the stand. 2:19, he was off the stand. That even included cross-examination from Roberta Kaplan, Carroll's attorney. Really 3 questions or so from Alina Habba that had been passed by Judge Kaplan earlier before they allowed the former president to testify, because as we had talked about over the last couple of days, there were restrictions on the former president's testimony, the things that he could and could not say. He couldn't say he didn't sexually assault Carroll. He'd already been found liable. He couldn't say that it was all a hoax. He'd already been found liable. He couldn't say he didn't defame her. He'd already been found liable in the previous trial. Let me just read for you some of the questions that were asked by Alina Habba. You viewed your deposition. Yes, I did. You stand by it. 100% yes. Do you deny the allegations to defend yourself? Yes. I consider it a false accusation. That was stricken. He wasn't allowed to say that because he's already been found liable. Did you ever instruct anybody to hurt Miss Carroll? No, I just wanted to defend myself, my family, and frankly, the presidency. Also stricken as well. And then they went into cross by Roberta Kaplan, much of which was objected by Alina Habba. Let me just say 2 things I think we need to consider going into today. We're going to hear closing arguments early this morning, starting around 9 a.m. The former president will, in fact, be in that courtroom. He canceled an event in Arizona later this evening for the campaign trail to be here in the courtroom for closing arguments. Then they're going to shift, of course, to the jury. The decision will then be in the hands of the jury, likely after lunch. We'll likely get a decision after that. Let's consider with this the jury makeup, right? When the jury was being gathered, 2 big questions they were asking was, where do you get your news from? And who did you vote for? The people that were chosen for this jury pool were fairly vague about the things that they watched and who, in fact, they voted for. The other big case that Carroll's attorneys was building was the former president's net worth, right? His wealth, the amount of money he has. So the jury likely to focus on that as well as they consider the decision likely later on this afternoon, guys.
Danny, let's bring you in here. I want to start there and talk about some of the stuff that we saw from Carroll's lawyers. One of those things being this video deposition in which Trump is repeatedly bragging about his wealth, as we just heard reference there. They also focused on clips from a news conference last week where Trump called Carroll's sexual assault claim a rigged and made up story. Also, Truth Social posts as well of his. How are the types of things that we saw discussed yesterday central to this case?
Yes, and there was also videotape where he bragged about his wealth. And that was actually the most compelling to me, because for punitive damages, you have to demonstrate a couple things. You have to demonstrate the defendant's hatred or ill will or spite, but also relevant in punitive cases is discovery on the wealth of the defendant. That may sound strange, but if punitive damages are designed to punish, a dollar amount to each of the three of us would be a different kind of punishment than it would be to a billionaire like Trump. And I thought this was really clever by plaintiff's counsel to take this deposition testimony, introduce it. It's under oath, it's sworn, and it's Donald Trump saying, I'm worth billions and billions of dollars. So you have this admission to the jury, and now you can argue to them in closing, look, what is a dollar amount that would make someone feel the pain to punish a defendant for what he did? Well, you saw how much money he has. Think of a number that fairly would punish him, that would make him think twice about doing this again. Not a regular guy on the street, but Donald Trump, who just told you in deposition testimony that he's worth billions of dollars. What is the dollar amount that would fairly punish a billionaire?
So, Yasmin, the jury is expected to get this case today. A verdict could come quickly, could come today. We certainly saw a quick verdict last time. But looking forward, what is next on the former president's busy legal calendar?
What is not next, Joe, I think is really more the question, because he's got a very busy legal calendar ahead of him, along with, of course, running for re-election of the president of the United States. Just down the road for me, and I've talked about this repeatedly, we're waiting a decision from Judge Engoron either next week or the week after, a judgment, of course, on the Trump civil fraud trial, which could basically say the former president never works again in New York City. The payout that Letitia James is looking for there, $370 million. So, right, you add that up with what Carroll here is asking for, $10 million. Who knows how much more? As Denny Savalas just said, in punitive damages, the former president is looking at a possible payout of $380 million plus in the next couple of weeks. We got a motion that the former president and his attorneys joined down in Georgia to remove the Fulton County DA from that case. That's going to be heard by the judge down there in mid-February. And then, of course, we're awaiting the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals decision in Washington when it comes to the Trump immunity case. So he's got a lot on his calendar in the next couple of weeks that we're going to be watching for.
Danny, Yasmin just referenced what's happening in Georgia. That, of course, is Trump's election interference case. I want to ask you about that before we end this segment. Yesterday, Trump's lawyers, they joined a motion to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from leading the case. There's been a lot of back and forth here. Tell us the latest and exactly what we know about that and when we might hear.
Yeah, this motion really has the potential to derail the Fulton County case. It really follows two avenues. The first one is to dismiss the entire indictment because there were defects in how they got the indictment. Specifically, the special prosecutor was not properly appointed. Secondly, the argument is that because the DA and the special prosecutor had this improper relationship, allegedly, they should be disqualified because of the appearance of impropriety. And if they're disqualified, that raises the question of who will carry the banner forward in this case.
All right. Danny, Yasmin, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Yes, we do. Also playing out in a courtroom yesterday, former Trump advisor Peter Navarro was sentenced to 4 months in prison for defying a January 6th committee congressional subpoena.
Navarro was also ordered to pay a fine of nearly $10,000. He was convicted in September on 2 counts of contempt of Congress for refusing to testify and hand over documents during the committee's investigation of the attack on the Capitol. Navarro's lawyer asked the sentence be immediately stayed because of, quote, novel issues presented in the case, including Navarro's stated belief that his conversations with the former president were protected under executive privilege. Navarro is appealing his conviction. Heavy rain continues to slam the South with millions under flood alerts this morning.
Yeah, in Louisiana, flash flooding even trapped several cars. It flooded homes and businesses and left some people to use kayaks even to get around. That's what you're looking at on your screen. More rain is in store for the West and the Northeast. So Michelle Grossman is here with us tracking that. Hi, Michelle. Good morning.
Hi there, guys. Happy Friday. Yeah, it's like the rain that won't quit. We're going to see a little break in New York City, Philadelphia, so portions of the Northeast. But a lot of us are still seeing the rain falling right now. 18 million people still impacted by flood alerts. We're going to see this throughout the weekend. Where you see the green, that's your flash flood. Also seeing flash flood warnings, where you see that maroon box. So again, we will see these popping in and out throughout the day as that heavy rain falls. So this is what radar looks like right now. The heaviest rain is actually falling to the north throughout the Great Lakes into the interior parts of the Northeast. We're going to get another wave into the south, and that's going to bring soaking rains later on today. But notice some pinks popping in on these last few frames. That's that colder air working in, the precipitation meeting up with that cold air. That's why why we're seeing that pink and purple, so freezing rain, and also seeing some snow. We could see some accumulating snow in portions of northern Maine, a few inches, not a whole lot, but still causing some slippery travel. In addition to that, we have a lot of fog across the country once again. So we're looking at flash flood risks once again in the south once we get that second wave coming through, actually the fifth wave, whatever it is, the second wave within the past 24 hours. So an hourly rainfall rate of 1 to 2 inches, where you see this darker blue, Jackson, Alexandria, New Orleans, seeing the likeliest thought of seeing some flooding rains. We're also looking at some rain in terms of rainfall. We're looking at 1, 2, 3 inches of rain. So we're looking at the darkest colors here, reds, oranges, yellows. This is where we're going to see the heaviest amounts of rain. Snowfall forecast, again, not a whole lot, but still see some accumulating snow. We're looking at anywhere from 1 to 3 inches. Where you see that darker blue, that's where we're looking at the highest amount of snow. Although I think those New Englanders like it. This is what it looks like. We have lingering rain and wintry mix in the northeast. The next surge of rain developing over the southern plains. That's going to bring the chance for severe storms by tomorrow as it makes its way into the southeast. So Alabama, also Georgia, on the lookout for some strong storms later. And then we'll get a little break in the mid-Atlantic, the northeast. And then Sunday, we're looking at more rain. And we could see some snow in spots. I think I-95 is going to be the cutoff. So New York City should be all rain, but we're going to watch it over the next couple of days. Here we go again.
Using the umbrella more this January than I imagined.
I know. More than I would like.
Hopefully you got one for Christmas.
Exactly. Thanks,
right,
Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Sure.
The state of Alabama carried out the first nitrogen gas execution in the U.S. last night. 58-year-old inmate Kenneth Smith was executed by means of nitrogen hypoxia. Prison officials say Smith was strapped to a gurney and forced to breathe nitrogen gas through a mask, depriving him of oxygen. Smith was convicted in the murder-for-hire killing of a preacher's wife, Elizabeth Sennett, back in 1988. The commissioner of the Alabama Department of Corrections says the execution was carried out with no issues.
Appeared that one, Smith was holding his breath as long as he could, and then there's also information out there he struggled against his restraints a little bit, but there's some involuntary movement and some agonal breathing, so that was all expected and is in the side effects that we've seen or researched on nitrogen hypoxia.
A previous attempt to put Smith to death by lethal injection 2 years ago failed when prison staff were unable to find a suitable vein. That incident, as well as other issues, caused Alabama officials to pause lethal injection and find an alternative method. Now let's turn to Washington as negotiations on a deal tightening immigration laws appear to be in jeopardy this morning.
During a closed-door meeting with fellow Republicans on Wednesday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell cast doubt on a deal being reached. Now, McConnell has been pushing for a bipartisan deal to pass border legislation and foreign aid together. But former President Trump is asking GOP members to kill the immigration deal, which would leave a deal for Ukraine funding in doubt.
NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now with the latest developments here. Julia, good morning. So what can you tell us about this closed-door meeting? What do we know that happened?
Well, what it shows is the power of Donald Trump on the Hill. He's a candidate. He's a former president. He is not in any of these meetings, but boy, is his presence felt. And what we understand is that basically the former president doesn't want this deal to go through. He's messaging that to Republicans. And now you have McConnell, who's starting to walk back. One of the things that we were able to report, that my Hill colleagues were able to report, is that he said, the border used to be what united us and Ukraine divided us, but the politics have shifted, that they're now dividing, especially among Republicans, about whether or not there should be a border deal at all. It's not about brass tacks. We've talked a lot about the things that the Democrats were willing to negotiate on, some of the things that were holding this up. This really just has to do with whether or not they're going to do a border deal at all.
A lot of criticism about what McConnell had to say, including from some Republicans like Mitt Romney. We've since heard from Leader McConnell following that meeting with Republicans. So what's he saying and where do things stand right now?
Yeah, that's right. So at first we're reporting on a closed-door meeting, and then the Senate Majority Leader McConnell did come forward, and he talked about a meeting that he had, or things that he said to Janet Yellen and President Biden, and here's what he had to say.
I did make it clear to both of them that we have to have a credible solution to the wide-open border in order to get a bill that includes all of the things that I think are important across the Senate floor. Border security needs to be a part of this package if it's going to move out of the Senate.
And it's important to know when he's saying that there were already a number of provisions that would have dramatically tightened the border, including raising the bar on claiming asylum and perhaps increasing the number of beds in ICE detention to try to make it so that more migrants are detained as they await their court hearings. There were a lot of very, tangible ways that they were going to make the border more secure. And now he's saying, look, we need something bigger on border security. One thing they could be pointing to in this case is a House bill known as H.R. 2, which is basically a Republican wish list of everything they want done at the border. Basically, he's raising the bar here and casting a lot of doubt on whether or not a deal will be reached at all.
Julia, what level of urgency is going on here with trying to get this done?
Well, it used to be something we thought could get done before Christmas, before people left for the holidays. Now, then we started to think it was going to get done last week. We've been hearing a lot from the negotiators. OK, text this week, text next week, at least trying to get it done by the end of January. Now it seems that there are so many Republicans who are feeling pressure from Trump not to budge at all on border and to basically not get this done because he wants to continue to use this as a political weapon to show that Biden isn't doing anything on the border, that the borders are open, keep the numbers high so that he can use that in a campaign effort against the current president. And so it seems that the urgency to get anything done now may be fading.
All right, Julia Ainsley, thank you very much.
Wall Street is looking to end another week on a strong note following Thursday's news about the economy. Markets reacted positively yesterday to new economic data showing the economy grew stronger than expected at the end of last year. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans takes a closer look.
At this commercial glass factory in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, owner Josh Berg says the much forecast recession of 2023 never happened.
The year was good. The year was really, really good.
You had new business, maintained existing business, grew your workforce, and grew your top line and bottom line numbers in a year we expected a recession.
That's correct. as counterintuitive as that may seem.
Work happening on factory floors like this one has kept the U.S. economy humming. In fact, economic growth last year, GDP, was stronger than the average for the entire decade before the pandemic.
The economy grew 3.3% in the final 3 months of 2023. For the year, a robust 2.5%, fueled by strong consumer spending and hiring.
Continually throughout the year, we have had strong growth, and in this case, stronger growth than expected.
President Biden in Superior, Wisconsin.
America now has the strongest growth, the lowest inflation rate of any major economy in the world.
Yet polls show Americans overwhelmingly disapprove of the president's handling of the economy, the ongoing effects of high inflation, and the least affordable housing market in more than a generation, contributing to many not feeling the country's economic growth personally. But back in Bensalem, tempered enthusiasm from Josh Berg.
Letter grade. What was 2023 in a letter grade?
A minus.
A minus.
Always room for improvement, but a well-earned year from everybody here.
That was Christine Romans reporting. The Federal Reserve is set to meet next week, where we'll get an updated snapshot on the state of the economy and its plans for interest rates.
We've got much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including some pretty important correspondence between the U.S. and China over America's growing fentanyl crisis. We will take you to Beijing after the break.
Plus, the latest on King Charles' health as he is admitted to a London clinic this morning ahead of a procedure on his prostate. Those stories and much more up next.
We are back with some breaking news out of the International Court of Justice. Right now, the ICJ is about to issue its interim ruling in the case of South Africa, accusing Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. NBC News foreign correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv on this breaking news. Matt, what's the latest?
Yeah, Savannah, well, the latest is exactly what you said. We're now listening to the International Court of Justice. They started 20 minutes ago. This is led by the president, Joan Donoghue, who happens to be an American. She's the president of the ICJ, and she has been reeling through now a lot of the legal issues around this case. We have not yet heard a verdict. It could happen at any minute. But meanwhile, we're seeing that the United States is trying to increase the pressure on these negotiations to release hostages held by Hamas and other groups in the Gaza Strip, Israeli hostages. And so they're deploying the head of the CIA. Here's our report. This morning, the U.S. ramping up its efforts to secure the release of Israeli hostages, sending CIA Chief William Burns to Europe in the coming days, where he'll meet with his Israeli and Egyptian counterparts and Qatar's prime minister, hoping to ink a deal that would release all the remaining hostages in exchange for a 2-month truce.
He's the most thoughtful and nice person in the world, and he is my best friend.
For Ron Benjamin's daughter, Shai, the global efforts are a light at the end of the tunnel.
This gives us hope, and this is the thing that keeps me going, you know? I don't know what I would have done if it wasn't happening.
Israel's assault on Gaza has now killed more than 26,000 people, according to its Hamas-run Ministry of Health. Now survivors face the threat of famine. A UN report last month said more than 90% of Gazans face crisis levels of food insecurity. Israel denies there's famine in the Gaza Strip. But here, Palestinians are preparing to eat animal feed. And this crowded kitchen has little to offer but soup and scraps. Among the crowd of mostly women and children, we find Ahmed El Hayy, pleading for food. But now, he's giving up. Hungry, humiliated, and empty-handed, he returns to his family of 25. A lot of times I go and I won't take anything, he said. I don't know how to feed them. But there's a bit of stale bread, softened with water so the children can eat it. It may sustain them today, but survival tomorrow is another question. So, Savannah, those images you just saw, searing images of the kind we've been seeing for the past 3 months, or nearly 4 months now, out of the Gaza Strip, those have shocked the world, and now they're before the International Court of Justice, where we are about to hear a verdict, one that could change the course of this conflict. Savannah?
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you very much.
U.S. officials will be in Beijing next week for talks with their Chinese counterparts. At issue, the fentanyl crisis.
It is the first time both sides are meeting at a high level to discuss the issue since China broke off talks in 2022 in retaliation for former Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan.
For more on this, we're joined by NBC News foreign correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer in Beijing. So, Janice, who's in this U.S. delegation, what exactly are both sides expected to work on?
Well, what was described to us as a joint task force is set to be launched next week, and it's going to bring together high-level officials from law enforcement and narcotics control from both countries, including U.S. Homeland Security and the DEA. This is seen as a significant step toward reviving counter-narcotics cooperation, which hasn't existed at all since 2022 with Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, and also that had encountered obstacles since 2020 with the U.S. putting sanctions on a narcotics control lab here, as well as the Institute of Forensic Science, both falling under the Ministry of Public Security. That was seen as an obstacle by the Chinese side. Both of those were removed from the entity list in November, right after President Biden met with Xi Jinping in San Francisco. It was seen as a trade-off, a necessary trade-off, according to the Biden administration, in order to revive the level of cooperation we're going to see here next week.
Janice, I know you've spoken with the Deputy Director of China's National Narcotics Control Commission. What did he have to say about all this and what Beijing's expectations are here?
I spoke with Yu Haibin. He's the Deputy Director General of China's Narcotics Control Bureau. That falls under the Ministry of Public Security. We talked about the challenges for China in trying to crack down on chemical supply lines from Chinese companies here. There are literally tens of thousands of chemical precursors that can be synthesized to produce the fentanyl that's killing so many Americans, but they can also be used for legitimate purposes. He also talked about cryptocurrencies, the use of the dark web, the fact that the internet is transnational. But he said the biggest problem with the opioid crisis in the United States still remains demand.
So, Janice, why is this meeting happening now?
Well, it's happening now out of necessity. It's seen as something that needs to get back on track in order to try to at least attempt to put a dent in the supply lines. We've seen the opioid crisis deepen across the U.S. There are more deaths now than at any other time in U.S. history. So this has become a bipartisan issue for Americans. Officials have been working for months here to try to get things back on track. There was a bipartisan delegation that traveled to China in October, met directly with Xi Jinping, and senators from both sides appealing to him to do something, anything, to help this crisis that's ravaging so many communities.
All right, Janice, thank you so much.
Well, King Charles III was admitted to a private London hospital this morning to undergo what Buckingham Palace is calling, quote, a corrective procedure for his previously diagnosed enlarged prostate. And it really comes amid quite a bit of medical news for the royal family. NBC News foreign correspondent Megan Fitzgerald joins us with the latest details on this. Megan, good morning. So what do we know at this point about the King's procedure?
Guys, good morning. So we know that the king was admitted, as you mentioned, into the London clinic, which is just about 20 minutes away from where we are here at Buckingham Palace. This is the same hospital where Princess Kate is being treated, or where she has just undergone a planned abdominal surgery that was last week. And we understand NBC News has confirmed that the king visited with her this morning ahead of his treatment. We know about the king that he is seeking treatment. He sought treatment for an enlarged prostate. That he's going to be undergoing this corrective procedure. We know that his condition is benign. And the reason why he wanted to come forward with this level of information to the world is because he wants to inspire other men who may be feeling symptoms to get checked. Now, what is still unclear is how long he's going to remain in the hospital. But the palace does tell us that after the treatment is completed, it will be a short recovery period. As for Princess Kate, we understand that she should be released any day now. It was last week when they said she would recover in the hospital for about 10 to 14 days before she will then be released to go home, where she will continue her recovery. But we're talking about 2 to 3 months for Princess Kate to fully recover. And according to Kensington Palace, the advice from doctors is that she not resume her duties until after Easter. So that certainly gives you a little bit of an idea of how significant of a surgery she underwent. But again, they have said it is non-cancerous, and they expect her to resume her duties in a couple of months, guys.
Yeah, and that's just about all we know, right? Megan Fitzgerald, thank you very much for joining us.
Coming up, we are talking about nuns.
Not female members of religious orders in the Catholic Church, but the opposite, actually. They are people who identify as non-religious, or nuns. And more Americans are hopping on board with the idea. So what is behind the shift? We're going to take a closer look up next.
We're back now with a historic case in Michigan, the involuntary manslaughter trial for the mother of a school shooter who killed 4 people. In opening statements yesterday, both sides painted very different portraits of Jennifer Crumbley. NBC News correspondent Adrian Broaddus has the story.
A dramatic day of testimony inside of the Oakland County Courthouse. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, prosecutors say they will bring at least 20 witnesses to testify and introduce more than 400 pieces of evidence.
Jennifer Crumbley didn't pull the trigger that day, but she is responsible for those deaths.
Prosecutors laying out why they believe Jennifer Crumbley should be held accountable for her 15-year-old son's actions. He killed 4 people at Oxford High School. The defense hitting back.
He did something she could have never anticipated or fathomed or predicted.
Crumbley charged with involuntary manslaughter, the first parent in the U.S. ever charged in a mass school shooting carried out by their child.
They didn't do any number of tragically small and easy things that would have prevented all this from happening.
The defense appearing to shift blame onto Crumbley's husband, James, who has a separate trial.
James Crumbley was responsible for getting the gun out, putting the trigger lock back on, storing the gun.
Prosecutors showing this video of Jennifer and Ethan together at the gun range and calling its first witnesses.
So it entered here and exited here.
Teacher Molly Darnell showed jurors where she was shot. That memory still raw.
So I looked down and
I realized he's raising a gun to me.
Crumbly, tearful at times, leading to a heated exchange in front of the judge.
To have not just the defendant, her lawyer sit there sobbing. I did not stop.
The defense asking jurors to keep an open mind. And we also learned on Thursday, Jennifer Crumbly plans to take the stand. Her attorneys say their goal is to show who she was as a mother. Back to you.
All right, Adrian, thank you.
All right, we're going to switch gears here. According to a recent Pew Research study, the largest religious group in the country, they're now what's called religious nuns, but that is N-O-N-E-S, not N-U-N-S. We're talking about those who identify as religiously unaffiliated.
The study found this group now makes up 28% of American adults, and while they may label themselves as unaffiliated, that doesn't mean they are all anti-religion.
Here to explain what they found is Pew Research Center Vice President of Research, Neha Sehgal. Thank you so much for joining us. First, can you just expand on this term for us, religious nuns? Like, what falls into that category? How's it defined?
Sure. In the United States, for public opinion surveys, it's quite common to ask people, what is your religion, if any? And we give people the usual options. Are you a Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Mormon, etc.? But as part of those options, we also give people the option to say that they are either an atheist or an agnostic, or they have no particular religion. And together, these three categories, when people say they're either atheist, agnostic, or have no particular religion, forms the group known as nuns, and as you explained, N-O-N-E-S rather than N-U-N-S.
So, yeah, nuns, it's important to note they're not non-believers. A majority can still consider themselves to be spiritual. Tell us more about what types of belief systems actually fall under this category of nuns.
You're absolutely correct there. It would be wrong to say that these people are anti-religious or completely non-believers. They do tell us they believe in God, but they also tell us that they don't believe in God as described in the Bible. Rather, their views are that they believe in some kind of higher power. So you could say that their beliefs tend to be non-traditional. Some of them say they're spiritual. That's by no means everybody. About half of them say that they are spiritual. And politically, they tend to be much more liberal and democratic leaning.
So this is on the rise, it seems. I mean, just 7 years ago, the number here was 16% of adults in the U.S. identifying this way. Now, as Joe had mentioned, up to 28%. What do you think's led to such a jump?
Yeah, I would say actually this is one of the most significant changes in the American religious landscape that we've been documenting at the Pew Research Center. In 2007, we first measured religious nuns as being 16%. Fast forward 15 years later, we're at 28%. And now this share of 28% is roughly the same as the share of evangelical Christians in their country. So if you were to think about the American religious landscape kind of as a pie, this is a big old slice of that pie. Now, what is behind the rise of the religious nuns? That's an interesting question. There's two ways to answer that question. One, this may be part of a broader trend in American society where people are disaffiliating or disengaging. We also find that people are less likely to vote, and that they're volunteering less, right? Or they're actually, Pew Research Center surveys also show that they're less likely to now follow the news. So it may be part of a broader trend in American society where people are sort of opting out of traditional institutions. In this study, we also asked religious nuns why they now have no religion. They may have been raised in a religion, but now they're saying they have none. And the most common reason that they gave us is that they just became skeptical at some point about religious beliefs, or they had bad experiences with religious institutions or religious people.
Let's talk a little more about politics, because we do talk a lot about religious demographics during election cycles. We tend to think evangelicals might be more conservative. So when it comes to the nuns group, how could this shape the future of spirituality in this country, especially when it comes to politics?
Yeah, that's an important question. We know that in the United States, what people believe religiously is closely tied up with their politics and how they vote. So, for example, we know that evangelical Christians pretty reliably vote for the Republican Party. Now, this group, the religious nuns, they politically are much more democratic and they're much more liberal, right? But does that mean that they will tilt the election in the favor of the Democratic Party? The answer to that is not so simple, because what we also know about religious nuns is that they are less civically engaged. They are less likely to vote than other people in the United States. They also have other forms of civic engagement that stand at lower levels. So we know that elections are won not just by how people think, but what they do, and that is actually turning out to vote. And therein lies the rub with religious nuns. They are democratic leaning, they are liberal, but they are less likely to vote.
Neha Segal, really interesting stuff. Thank you so much for joining us on this.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up, keeping kids safe while scrolling through the apps.
After the break, we're going to tell you more about a new push by Meta, that's the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, to try and better protect the teens and younger adults that are on its platforms. Stay with us. Welcome back. A Texas school district is headed to court next month. The case centers on a black high school student who was punished for refusing to change his hairstyle. NBC News Now anchor Zincle Esamoah has more.
A heated dispute between a Houston area school district and one of its black high school students is headed to trial. Daryl George has been serving an in-school suspension and facing other disciplinary actions for more than 4 months now, all because of his hair.
Why me out of everybody in that school?
The Barbers Hill district says it's because George's lock hairstyle violates its dress code policy, which limits hair length for boys. But George's family and critics say the move is a violation of the Crown Act, a new Texas law which took effect in September and prohibits race-based hair discrimination.
I wrote the Crown Act, I filed it, and it is clear. Locks, bantu knots, twists, braids, wash and goes, blowouts, however you wish to wear your hair, wigs should be accepted. Barbers Hill ISD is stealing his high school experience and breaking the law.
A state judge now setting a February trial date to determine if George's punishment is a violation of the law.
The family has a real case here, especially given that the authors of the bill really believe that this is a situation where the Crown Act would apply. The outcome of this case will absolutely set a precedent, especially within the state of Texas.
George's mother said she was disappointed the judge did not grant a temporary restraining order that would have stopped her son's punishment until the trial.
I have a son, 18 years old, that wants to go to school, that wants to get his education. And y'all messing with him. Why?
Barbers Hill superintendent telling NBC News in part, the Crown Act says nothing about hair length, adding it was meant to allow braids, locks, or twists, which the district has always allowed. The law was never intended to allow unlimited student expression. In a paid ad that ran earlier this month in the Houston Chronicle, Poole stood behind the district's decisions. The ad reading, quote, "We will not lose sight of the main goal, high standards for our students, by bending to political pressure or responding to misinformed media reports. These entities have lesser goals that ultimately harm kids."
Greg Poole is a liar. It is about the fact that he does not like braids, locks, or any sort of African-American hairstyle, which he said, and I'm going to prove it to you.
We spoke with George in December, shortly after he was suspended for a second time due to his hair.
How has this all felt for you?
It's very stressful. I'm trying to maintain being a student while also having to deal with this. Why should I cut my hair for my education? My hair has nothing to do with my education.
What does your hair and your hairstyle mean to you?
It just means a lot to me. It made me feel more closer to my people. Being without my hair is like cutting me from my people, not letting me, express myself how I feel I should be.
Zincle Esamoah, NBC News.
Now let's get to some news out of the social media giant Meta. They are launching new safety protections on Facebook Messenger and on Instagram, specifically aimed at teens. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gusk has the details.
For parents worried about who is messaging their teenagers on social media, Meta says it hears them, announcing changes to accounts on Facebook Messenger and Instagram for teenagers under 16 years old.
Today we're announcing a new default setting for teens around messaging that makes Instagram safer for them.
Blocking DMs from anyone who they don't follow and aren't connected to. For parent-supervised accounts, changes made to that setting or any other safety and privacy setting now has to be approved by a parent.
We believe that parents know what's best for their individual child, and we want to do what we can to empower parents to make those decisions, to shape Instagram.
The announcement comes after steps taken earlier this month that limit teens' ability to see potentially harmful material and to alert them when they are spending a lot of time on the app at night. 95% of teens use social media and are on it more than 3 hours a day, which the Surgeon General says puts them at higher risk for depression and anxiety. Critics say these measures announced by Meta don't go nearly far enough.
These changes are about as effective as a screen door on a submarine.
Tech-savvy teenagers may easily navigate around restrictions. How difficult is it for a teenager to lie about his or her age and set up an Instagram account?
It is so simple because we've never put in age verification and age assurance requirements. By the way, $1 trillion company can figure that out.
Our thanks to Stephanie Goss for that report.
Financial headlines now. Tesla stock just saw its worst day of trading in a year.
CNBC's Pippa Stevens joins us now with that and other money headlines this morning. Hey, Pippa.
Good morning, Savannah. Well, Tesla suffering its worst day in a year as the stock tumbles more than 12%, wiping out $80 billion in market value. The drop coming as CEO Elon Musk warns sales growth will slow this year, despite several price cuts that have hurt margins at the electric vehicle maker. That's fueling concerns about soft demand and competition in China. Tesla has lost more than $200 billion in value just this month. Levi Strauss will cut up to 15% of its corporate workforce during the first half of this year. The move is part of a 2-year restructuring plan that aims to cut costs and streamline operations at the iconic company. Levi's had about 19,000 employees as of the end of November. Since peaking 3 years ago, Levi's stock price is down nearly 50%. And Nintendo will likely launch a new game console later this year with a bigger screen, according to a top analyst in Japan. Nintendo Switch, which is 7 years old, has sold more than 130 million units and is approaching the end of its life cycle. The company hasn't said anything about a potential successor, but the new device is expected to hit stores in time for this year's holiday shopping season. I love that we're 26 days into the new year and already talking about the holiday season.
Yeah, no.
Get your gift early, all right?
Yeah, no escape.
Pippa, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, there are only 6 months until the Paris Olympic Games, and we are kicking off the celebrations a little early.
That's right. After the break, our conversation with Brody Malone, a decorated gymnast who competed in the Tokyo Games and now has his sights set on France. That's next. Stick around.
Welcome back. In my home state of Minnesota, snow plows and their drivers put in some pretty long hours working hard to clear up all those snowy roads. So naturally, every year, thousands of people opt to give the plows names. Well, early next week, the state will announce the winners of the 4th annual Name a Snow Plow contest. More than 8,000 submissions were narrowed down to a list of just 49 finalists. Only 8 of them will be bestowed besnowed on the plows. Some of this year's contenders are Aaron Mercer. You'll recognize that one if you're a Hamilton fan. And in honor of you, Savannah, we have Taylor Drift. We've also got Don't Flurry Be Happy, Who Let the Plows Out, and Dolly Plowton. Also, I like this one, too. Oh, for sleet's sake. It's a very Minnesota expression twisted right there. Voting ends on Sunday, so
those are really
Minnesotans,
good.
Cast your votes.
Taylor Drift and Who Let the Plows Out. I think actually Who Let the Plows Out might be my favorite. Okay, thanks, Joe. Well, the 2024 Olympic Games are now just 6 months away. Thousands of athletes will head to Paris to compete in the Summer Games. NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons takes a look at how the city is preparing for one of the biggest sporting events in the world.
The clock is ticking down to the Paris Games. The merchandise already on sale. The venues almost ready. We got a look at the Athletes' Village. It's going to be ready.
Oh, yeah.
That's the crucial question.
We are perfectly on time, really early.
6 months from the Games, and they tell us the Olympic Village will be ready in 6 weeks. 3,000 apartments for more than 14,000 athletes and staff. Many venues are being recycled. The 1924 Paris Olympic swimming pool is being refurbished. Are you putting the water from the Seine in here?
No. No.
The Seine, the centerpiece of the Games, hosting the first opening ceremony outside a stadium. Other iconic landmarks will become venues like the Place de la Concorde, where Olympic breaking will premiere. Sonny Choi will be there for Team USA.
I'll be like sitting on the plane and all of a sudden I feel like tears in my eyes and I'm like, wait, I'm going. This is happening. Like right now.
As for the hometown fans, basketball is a huge draw, with NBA star Victor Wembanyama expected to lead Team France. Which country is going to get gold in the basketball?
France.
You sure about that?
Yeah. No, I think the US is going to get it.
The US?
As always.
We'll see in just 6 months. Keir Simmons, NBC News, Paris.
And no one understands the countdown to the Olympics perhaps better than our next guest, Gymnast Brody Malone. He's a Tokyo Olympian, two-time U.S. all-around champ, and a Paris 2024 Olympic gymnastics hopeful. Brody, good morning. Good to have you with us. So we'll dig into the fun of Paris in just a moment, but we want to get an update on you. You competed for the first time since your leg injury this past weekend. You were at the Houston National Invitational. How did it feel to get back out there? How are you feeling right now?
Oh, it was incredible to get back out there. Anytime you get a chance to raise your hand in front of a judge is just a great experience. And it was my first time competing in about 10 months. So it was good to get the nerves going again and just get back out there. Even if I wasn't doing dismounts, it was still awesome.
And how was your recovery process? I imagine it was pretty intensive, just knowing a little bit about the injury you suffered.
Yeah, so the recovery process has been long, definitely, but I'm on the right trajectory. I've started running on treadmill, sprinting on treadmill. So I'm getting back, and I'm still dealing with a little bit of pain, but that's part of it. So
absolutely. So you won the U.S. all-around title in 2021 and 2022, and at the 2022 Gymnastics World Championships, you also won the high bar title. And of course, as we mentioned, you've been to Tokyo. What would it mean to you to make the team this year?
Oh, it would mean everything, especially with my injury, coming back and going through this. It's big roadblock, but if I was able to come back and make the Olympics, it would be amazing. I'd want a chance to kind of redeem myself after the Tokyo Olympics and get a medal.
Talk about the mindset 6 months out. How do you approach the upcoming Olympic trials and everything you need to do to reach this goal?
Yeah, so the mindset is just, I have to do everything I can do day in and day out, inside the gym and outside the gym. So inside the gym, I'm working my butt off, training super hard. And outside of the gym, I got to make sure that I'm doing everything in my power, fueling my body properly, getting the right amount of sleep. Everything I do affects how I perform in the gym. So that's kind of how I look at it.
You were the only, actually, U.S. gymnast to compete on all 6 events in the team final at Worlds in 2022. Obviously, with what you've gone through in the time in between and with your recovery, things may have changed. So what can we expect to see you on at the upcoming trials? Is it all 6 events, or how are you feeling?
Well, hopefully I'll be able to get there. Not really sure yet. It just kind of depends on the trajectory of my knee. I will at least be doing 4 events, so everything except floor and vault. But right now I'm training on tumble track. I'm doing some actual tumbling. So we'll just see, and we'll see how it goes.
Brody, we understand you recently got engaged. Congratulations to you and your fiance. Oh, there you go. That's perfect location. Well done on that one right there. Talk about just the motivation that comes from having someone in your corner and how you balance the personal life with trying to just achieve this incredible goal of going to the Olympics.
Yeah, it was a little bit harder when I lived in California when I was training at Stanford, but I'm training in Florida now, and she lives in Georgia, so she's able to fly down all the time, and I get to see her a lot. So that has been great. And just as far as having her in my corner, it's incredible. She gives me so much support, and I'm just so grateful to have her in my life, and I can't wait to be married to her.
Oh, by the way, I liked, I think it was maybe her on the Instagram caption, of those gorgeous photos said something like, "It's about time." I know that feeling. So I like that she called you out on it. It's so funny. Brody, at this point, are you kind of like daydreaming at all about Paris? Are you imagining being there? What's the anticipation
Perhaps a
of
wedding
that
there.
like? Yeah, there you go.
No, definitely not the wedding there, but yeah, I'm definitely dreaming about it a little bit, but I try to take it one day at a time. Every day presents its own challenges, and you just have to, I like to take it one day at a time and not really think about the future too far in advance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've still got a lot of work to do to make the Olympic team. So that's kind of where my mind is at right now.
Yeah. Good advice for us all.
Exactly.
One day
It
at
feels
a
like
time.
the Paris backdrop could be a little distracting for everyone, but we'll see what
you're
happens.
like, there's too much to do there. Yeah.
Brody Malone, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on all your success and your return. We look forward to following you in the coming months.
Good luck.
Thank
We'd love
you
to
so
check
much.
in.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brody.
It's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now. Stay with us. Good morning. Happy Friday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
And I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, super soaker. Millions of Americans waking up under flood alerts as rain waterlogs the East Coast. Life-threatening flash floods slam parts of the South, forcing people to abandon their cars. Some areas faced up to an inch of rain per hour. We're tracking where that system is heading now as the cleanup in the South gets underway. Plus, Alabama carries out the first American execution using nitrogen gas. What we know about the method, the pushback, and what it could mean for the future of capital punishment in America. Also this morning, Trump on the stand defending himself briefly in the defamation suit brought by Carroll. His clash with the judge and the remarks he made, which were quickly struck from the record. And the weekend is here. We have a double dose of entertainment. First, we're breaking down everything heading to your screens this weekend with your can't miss list. And later, my conversation with WWE superstars and real-life couple Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. Talk about everything from this weekend's Royal Rumble to their new reality show to making history in the ring. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
I'm Savannah Sellers.
We're gonna
Love when we have a can't miss and flipping the script.
Exactly. We're piling all on
Yeah.
for the weekend ahead. We're going to begin, of course, with the soaking wet weather hitting several parts of the country this morning.
Yeah, millions remain under flood alerts this morning in the South. Mississippi has already received several inches of rain, with the heavy downpours causing flooding across the region. And here's a look just northwest of Houston, where heavy downpours have caused streams to overflow their banks. Now, that same system has made its way overnight into the Northeast, with Boston directly in its path. And that is where we find NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin this morning. Aaron, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. As you can see, it is raining here in Boston. But let's talk about what happened yesterday in the South. The South getting absolutely pummeled by rain. That storm system now making its way up north, with tens of millions of Americans on the East Coast on flood watch. The already saturated southern plains are facing more wet weather this morning.
Any additional rain is going to impact already saturated grounds, and you'll have that quick runoff of water.
Communities drenched with an inch per hour rainfall rates in some areas. More rain falling on soggy soil and swollen rivers, leading to severe flooding, and in some cases, dangerous road conditions. In Louisiana, homes and businesses flooded, submerged cars abandoned, and even kayakers taking to waterlogged streets.
The community is soaked. Some of the ditches are still full. It's not going to dry up in a day or so.
The same system bringing high winds that destroyed this barn, setting chickens loose on the wreckage.
We heard something crashing.
Severe weather sent a massive tree slamming into this man's home.
Found the front living room and carport area had a tree through it.
Farther south, heavy rains drowning this park, now completely underwater.
Turn around, don't drown.
Near Houston, Texas, a creek overflowing into this low-lying road. The flooding there leading to evacuations and rescues.
When you do get to the dips or the lower areas, they're going to be prone for flooding.
In addition to the rain, fog affecting visibility in some areas for a third consecutive day. Up north, the combination of rain and snowmelt leading to more flood concerns. States from Texas to Massachusetts are seeing more than double the historical average of January precipitation, with nearly a week left to go before February. And there is some good news in the forecast for Boston. All this wetness you see here, well, that's expected to dry out in the coming hours with warmer than average temperatures. And let's talk about those temperatures. In some cases here in the United States, the average high being 30 degrees higher than average, which is pretty incredible, especially when you consider what we were seeing play out across the country last week with these intense Arctic blasts, these wild temperature swings, leaving millions of Americans wondering what's going to happen next. Guys.
All right, Aaron McLaughlin, thank you so much.
Let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Michelle Grossman with a look at what's in store for the weekend.
Yeah, Michelle, good morning. Just how much rain should we expect?
Well, a lot of us are going to see more rain this weekend, and Sunday playoff games are going to be on the couch for many of us because we're looking at soaking rain still in the south. That's the big weather story today. Heavy rain throughout the south central states, especially the Gulf Coast states. Could see some stronger storms, better chance for stronger storms tomorrow. But notice that rain extends all the way to portions of the northeast. I do think we're going to get a little break in cities like New York City, Philadelphia. It's not going to be the prettiest of days. We could see a little break in the cloud covered and mostly cloudy skies, but we won't see the rain falling all afternoon. The rain, though, will still be falling in portions of the northern parts of the northeast and even some freezing precipitation as it interacts with that colder air. Could see accumulating snow in northern Maine, also some freezing rain in portions of New Hampshire, also Vermont. Some rain in the Great Lakes. And as you look towards the west, we have another storm system moving on shore. So river moisture, once again, it's storm after storm. And this is what's making its way across country. So we're looking at soaking rain along the west coast from the Pacific Northwest into northern California. That's going to bring the chance of localized flooding, some mountain snow as well in the Cascades. The Rockies also seeing some mountain snow. We're foggy, and we've been foggy for days in many spots. So a tough start to the day. Then as we go throughout Saturday, that western washout still continues with that heavy rain falling along the coast, the mountain snow. Midwest warmth does continue. And then look at this, kind of tacked in the same place. Heavy rain in portions of the southeast into the Tennessee Valley. This is where we're looking at the chance for some storms into Georgia, also Alabama. Could see some really gusty winds, a chance of a few tornadoes as well. Sunday drying out in portions of the south. That's good news. We're looking at still some lingering rain in portions of the Pacific Northwest into the Intermountain West, some record highs. But notice what happens in the Mid-Atlantic, also in the Northeast. We have more rain in the forecast. And then I think the I-95 corridor should be just rain. But we're going to look at some snow falling in the interior parts of the Northeast into parts of New England. This is what we're going to watch over the next couple of days. So storm number one, that's what's affecting us today. We have heavy rain falling throughout the Great Lakes, that freezing precipitation. Storm number two, this is where we're going to see this come through by Sunday, where we're going to see that heavy rain falling. So for today, lingering rain, Midwest to the Northeast, some ice, some snow across northern New England. By tomorrow, we're looking at the next surge of rain developing over the southern plains. Another round of flooding possible. So we're going to see anywhere from 1 to 3 inches, but it is so saturated, so any sort of additional rain could cause some flash flooding. Then as we near tomorrow, we're looking at heavy rain pushing into the mid-Atlantic, that severe weather threat across Alabama and also Georgia. That would mainly be in the evening hours. And by Sunday, that steady rain returning to the coast of the eastern coast, where we're looking at rain for Philadelphia, New York City. But just a little bit further north, we're looking at that snow falling and could see accumulating snow in portions of New England. Something to watch as we go throughout the next couple of days. 18 million people under flood alerts, especially in the south. Atlanta, Montgomery, New Orleans could see some flooding today, and this is why we're looking at that radar showing us where that rain is falling. Flash flooding, too. This is super dangerous as you're out and about. So where you see that darker blue, Jackson, Alexandria, New Orleans, you could see hourly rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. And 1 to 3 inches, that's what we're expecting. Could see a little bit higher amounts where you see those darker colors. Snow amounts, not expecting blockbuster amounts, but enough to slow us down in parts of New England into the interior parts of Northeast. Could see up to 3 inches in some spots. That weekend watch will continue, especially Saturday. We're looking at the Gulf Coast states, and then by Sunday, we are looking at that impacting portions of the Northeast. So another weekend washout with heavy rain falling. This is all coming from the south. It's pulling that moisture, and that's why we're getting those torrential downpours. Let's talk about the temperature divide, because I don't really want to end it here. I'm going to hear it from Savannah and Joe. Because we have this temperature divide that if you're in D.C., you're looking pretty good. Temperatures in the 70s might reach 80 degrees, but that front, I know, crazy. Wow. So we're going to watch that. But that temperature divide is really close to us. So unfortunately, New York City, Philadelphia staying in the 40s today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
You are?
It's January. It should be cold here.
Oh, I like a little warm.
It.
I like a little warm.
80
Okay.
degrees in January.
I would have taken a day of 80. That would have been fine by me.
Freaks me out. Thanks, Michelle.
I know. Bye.
This morning here in New York, closing arguments are set to get underway in E. Carroll's civil defamation case against former President Trump. Mr. Trump clashed with the judge before briefly taking the stand yesterday, but the judge struck much of his testimony from the record. All this while Trump continues to focus on the race for the White House, ramping up his attacks on former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins us with the very latest. Peter, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. Mr. Trump is expected to be there for those closing arguments today, again campaigning from the courtroom, this time as he waits to learn how much he owes writer E. Carroll for branding her a liar. Meanwhile, his threats to ban anyone who donates to his Republican rival Nikki Haley appear to be backfiring, with the Haley campaign overnight saying Trump's scheme blew up in his face.
For former President Trump on tap today, closing arguments and possibly a verdict as a jury weighs how much money and damages he must pay writer E. Carroll for defaming her. Mr. Trump speaking out in a video posted overnight.
I don't even know who this woman is. This is another scam.
Mr. Trump, who last May was found liable for sexually abusing Carroll, stood by his denial of that accusation in the courtroom on Thursday, saying he, quote, wanted to defend myself, my family, and frankly, the presidency. The judge quickly striking that statement. As he tries to nail down his party's nomination, Mr. Trump is raging about Nikki Haley's refusal to exit the race and has been lobbing personal attacks at Haley.
Wow, what a great victory. But then somebody ran up to the stage all dressed up nicely.
The former president is threatening to blacklist Haley donors, warning they, quote, will be permanently barred from the MAGA camp. An attack Haley appeared to welcome, her campaign now selling T-shirts that read barred permanently and quickly raising more than $1 million in less than 24 hours. Still, Mr. Trump is not alone in the pressure campaign to force Haley out. The Republican National Committee was eyeing a move to declare the former president the party's presumptive 2024 nominee as early as next week, according to a draft resolution obtained by NBC News. But after Mr. Trump rejected the idea, the RNC backed off, according to a source familiar with the resolution.
It's a great day in South Carolina.
Despite a double-digit deficit in her home state, according to polls, Haley will hold back-to-back rallies there this weekend, not backing down, but ramping up jabs at her former boss.
He didn't talk about the American people once. He talked about revenge.
And back here in Washington, we are getting perhaps the clearest display of Mr. Trump's influence over Republicans in Congress, looking to possibly derail a bipartisan border deal. The Senate, as you know, has been working for months on trying to get this security deal, getting closer to what some Republicans have described as the best opportunity in decades to get it done. But Mr. Trump's public push to kill it is now severely complicating things here. Top Republican Mitch McConnell behind closed doors just this week telling his colleagues they may not want to, quote, undermine Donald Trump on the issue since he wants to run on it. Now Democrats and Republicans, including Trump allies, are blasting the former president's opposition to any deal. One Republican slamming it, in his words, as immoral to do nothing because you think it could help Mr. Trump win. Joe and Savannah.
All right, Peter, thank you so much.
We turn now to the state of Alabama, where the first ever execution via nitrogen gas has been performed. It was the state's second execution attempt on 58-year-old convicted murderer Kenneth Smith after a failed lethal injection in 2022. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa has the details.
Hey there, this controversial and untested method was used in place of lethal injection. Smith's legal team argued it may lead to pain and suffering in those last-minute legal battles, but the state says the execution proceeded as planned.
Overnight, an unprecedented execution going forward in Alabama. The state performing the country's first ever nitrogen gas execution on convicted killer Kenneth Smith. Officials saying the execution began at 7:53 p.m. local time, and Smith was pronounced dead at 8:25. They added the nitrogen flowed for about 15 minutes and that Smith had labored breathing.
He struggled against his restraints a little bit, but there's some involuntary movement and some agonal breathing, so that was all expected.
The corrections commissioner saying he appeared to be holding his breath as long as he could. The 58-year-old was convicted for the 1988 murder-for-hire killing of Elizabeth Sennett. He had been in prison for 35 years. Smith was scheduled to die in November 2022, but the attempt at lethal injection didn't work. Before the execution, the Supreme Court rejected another last-ditch effort from Smith's legal team to stop it, arguing it could lead to prolonged pain and suffering, though state officials have testified in court that nitrogen gas is painless and humane. According to media witnesses inside the chamber, Smith, quote, shook and writhed for about 2 minutes on a gurney, followed by several minutes of deep breaths. Smith's spiritual advisor, Reverend Jeff Hood, witnessed the execution.
And we also saw correction officials in the room who were visibly surprised at how bad this thing went.
Victim Elizabeth Sennett's family reflecting on the impact of Smith's crime as they look towards closure after years of loss.
Kenneth Smith made some bad decisions 35 years ago, and his debt was paid tonight.
And NBC News has reached out to the Alabama Department of Corrections for more information on the reaction from witnesses, but we have not heard back. State officials have said Smith's response to the gas was part of the known side effects and what they were expecting. Back to you.
All right, Emily Aketa, thank you. Let's turn now to some breaking news out of the International Court of Justice.
The ICJ has just delivered its interim ruling. The case was brought by South Africa, which accuses Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. Among the measures approved, the court has ordered Israel to, quote, take all measures within its power to prevent genocide in Gaza.
NBC News foreign correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv. Matt, good morning. So walk us through this ruling here. What are the emergency measures it's ordered?
Yeah, so this was a consequential ruling because, you know, there were these issues of whether or not the court could even have jurisdiction over this. Israel had asked for this case to be thrown out, and this was a case that was brought by South Africa. Some 8 injunctions brought against Israel, and the court ruling, which we just heard just moments ago, said that Israel needs to ensure it does not commit genocide, punish those who incite to genocide, provide humanitarian assistance to Gaza, prevent the destruction of evidence of the genocide, and that Israel needs to submit a report to the court within the next month describing how they have worked towards all of these measures that you're now seeing on your screen. So we should be hearing from Israel in a month if they're hoping to comply with the court. Worth noting that the International Court of Justice doesn't have any teeth to impose these punishments. And Israel had called these allegations absurd. And now we just heard from the right-wing Minister of National Security here in Israel that this was an anti-Semitic ruling. But at the same time, the residents of Gaza and the Palestinian people and those who have been calling for a ceasefire throughout the entire world are also likely to be disappointed by this ruling because it doesn't go so far as South Africa had asked for an immediate ceasefire, which is a demand that we've been hearing from all corners of the globe as Israel's incursion into the Gaza Strip now has killed more than 26,000 people, most of them civilians in the Gaza Strip. So this is a case that is going to continue. This was, as you mentioned, a preliminary ruling. The final ruling on whether or not Israel was committing or is committing genocide in the Gaza Strip, that could be years away. But given that they didn't ask for an immediate halt to hostilities in the Gaza Strip, it is unlikely, according to analysts and experts on international justice, that the court will finally rule in the end that Israel was committing genocide because the bar for the final ruling of genocide is so much higher. But still, guys, this is a really consequential decision. The really big thing here was that the court decided to entertain these injunctions, these requests from South Africa at all. This was something that the court decided they had jurisdiction on, decided that South Africa had the right to make these claims against Israel. That is really important for international diplomacy, very important for the efficacy of the court, even though it doesn't have the teeth or the implementation power to impose these rules. But it just goes to show that Israel is being watched by the international community for its actions in the Gaza Strip. Guys.
Matt Bradley on this breaking news for us. Thank you very much.
Still got a lot more news to get to on Morning News Now. Stay with us. More after the break.
Welcome back. Tomorrow, people around the world will mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day. January 27th is the date when the Nazi concentration and extermination camp Auschwitz was liberated in 1945.
It's a time to remember and honor the memory of the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust and the millions of other victims of Nazi persecution.
Joining us now on this is Marina Rosenberg. She is Senior Vice President of International Affairs for the Anti-Defamation League. Marina, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us today. So the United Nations established this day back in 2005. Tell us kind of what it's turned into since then and its importance.
Yeah, good morning. So tomorrow on Saturday, we're going to honor the memory of the 6 million Jews and other non-Jews victims who perished during the Nazi regime in Europe and beyond during the Second World War. As you well mentioned, this was a decision by the United Nations back in 2005 after a diplomatic effort from diplomats all over the world, understanding that the Holocaust should have a special international day and to remember not by Jews alone, but everybody else, in order to make sure that history does not repeat itself.
You know, Marina, though, decades later, we are seeing right now a rise in anti-Semitic incidents globally. What do you think needs to be done to just combat the rise in hate that we're seeing?
Yeah, so I think that this year, more than ever, the importance of remembering the horrors of the Holocaust and understanding how hateful speech brings to hateful acts and can eventually bring to horrible events like a full genocide. This year, we're seeing a spike in anti-Semitism, not just in the United States, where we're seeing a 360% rise only in the past 3 months, Joe. But we're seeing it all over the world. In France, yesterday, the Ministry of Interior published their numbers of anti-Semitic incidents, mentioning a rise of 1,000% in the past 3 months, with over 1,250 anti-Semitic incidents in France alone. In the UK as well, authorities are talking of a spike of 3,000 incidents across the country and hundreds in London alone. We're hearing the same from countries like Argentina, Brazil, with 961% rise in anti-Semitism, again, only in the past 3 months. And we're going towards this year of 2023 that is going to be the worst year in decades with anti-Semitic incidents around the world. So we really are calling leaders, and not just political leaders, but influencers, to take this into account and to take concrete measures to make sure that anti-Semitism goes down in this country and around the world.
Yeah, that is important, too, when you talk influencers, especially in the social media space, because of how much content there is around denying the Holocaust, which is kind of shocking on a lot of these platforms. Marina, tell us what events we'll be taking tomorrow and what people can do to commemorate the day.
Savannah, I just want to mention that the issue of denialism is of great concern to us. Personally, the family of my grandparents from both sides have died in the Holocaust, most of them in Poland. And to see how Holocaust denialism, again, is rising in this past month and years in social media and beyond, and becoming almost normal, is of great concern and causes a great pain, of course, to Holocaust survivors, but also to second and third generations of survivors. And unfortunately, it's even more shockingly, since we see the same kind of denialism post-October 7th events. And this is, we're talking about events that happened 3.5 months ago, and not just of a Holocaust that happened 79 years ago. Regarding your question on the events, so normally governments, especially in the Western world, are doing special events to commemorate the victims of the Holocaust. They do it with the Jewish communities and non-Jewish communities. The UN itself commemorates it. But beyond the commemoration and special events, we really need leaders to take more concrete measures to remember the Holocaust. We're seeing this a horrible rise in lack of understanding and knowledge in schools around the country and around the world. We have data of 35% of people that answered our Global 100 survey a few years ago that never heard of the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. And many that heard of the Holocaust think that it didn't happen in such a tragic extent as it is. So it's really alarming data and numbers, and we have to fight it.
Marina Rosenberg, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really, really do appreciate it. Now to what's making international headlines. Thousands of Australians protesting the holiday that some call Invasion Day.
NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome. Claudio, good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning. Well, that's right. January 26th is Australia Day, but it's also a controversial day because it's a holiday marking also the anniversary of the British colonization of that country. Well, now thousands of Australians this year joined the call to turn it into a day of mourning instead. Now, let me give you a bit of a history of this. On January the 26th, 1788, the first 11 British ships carrying convicts arrived in present-day Sydney, and protesters say that day marked the beginning of a period of discrimination and expulsion of Indigenous people from their land. Now, on Thursday, 2 monuments symbolizing Australia's colonial past were damaged in Melbourne, and today, thousands of people took to the streets in big cities like Melbourne and Sydney, asking for Australia Day to be moved to another date. And let's go over to Spain now, where a judge proposed that the country's former soccer federation president, Luis Rubiales, should stand trial over a kiss he forced upon the Spanish female team's captain after they won the World Cup last year. Right after the team's historic win in Australia, Rubiales grabbed the player Jenny Hermoso's head and kissed her on the mouth. She later said the kiss was not consensual, and Rubiales resigned. Now, a judge in Spain has found there is enough evidence for the matter to proceed to trial. Well, penalties for such a kiss range from a fine to 4 years in prison. And let's end this tour of the world in London, where an early work from British artist David Hockney is going up for auction. It shows 2 naked figures in an outdoor swimming pool and was painted by Hockney in 1965 after a trip to Los Angeles. Now, the painting was last seen in 1979 and will now be the highlight of selected works of art from the 20th and 21st century auctioned at Christie's on March the 7th. The estimated price, $20 million.
Oh,
back to you guys.
Good. I'll try to add it to my collection. Claudio, thank you very much.
Make your bid.
Yeah.
We're now just 6 months away from the 2024 Summer Olympic Games in Paris.
Yeah, starting in July, we'll be able to witness the world's best athletes competing in everything from some favorites like swimming and gymnastics, and then also some new events like breakdancing making its debut this year.
This morning, we're lucky to be joined by Olympic medalist and member of the U.S. women's national gymnastics team, Jordan Chiles. Jordan, it is great to have you with us. You recently competed, won several medals at the Pan American Games in Chile. Just how excited are you about thinking about Paris?
Well, first off, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited. This definitely is crazy to even think that we're already 6 months out. I'm really excited just to be able to experience, another Olympic cycle, an Olympic journey that, not a lot of people get to experience. So this should be a fun year, and there's definitely a lot of talent out there for sure.
Tell us what it's kind of like these next 6 months are like. I mean, we know it's this team sport as well as an individual sport, which is pretty unique when you think about, so many of the other games in the Olympics. And then also there's so much physically, but also mentally, something that we've seen very much play out with our girl Simone as she competed on the biggest stage. Like, what is the duality of both of those things, the individual aspect versus team as well as mental and physical? How do you prep for that?
So as an individual, obviously, you have the ability to control what you're doing within yourself, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, very well being able to make sure you're okay throughout the time process, but also having a teammate or even just a team in general can help you a lot as well. Obviously, leading into, the last year Olympics, there were some that incident that did happen with her, but, being able to have a team right beside you, helping you and supporting you, you definitely got the ability just to relax and enjoy the rest of the time being. So team and individual is all within yourself for sure. For me personally, I kind of just like focus on myself and making sure that mentally I am okay, because that's a huge thing that has been a topic for sure. And we want to make sure all our athletes are okay, whether it's in gymnastics, swimming, whatever it is, because this is a really hard time.
And that's really at the forefront of so many athletes' minds right now. So you joined the U.S. Olympic team at a younger age. Now you're older, you're more mature, you're taking on a leadership role within Team USA. What's that like, and what does that mean to you?
Being able to be, you know, a veteran at the top with, you know, a bunch of other amazing athletes as well. It's really cool knowing that you have the ability to inspire the younger generation. I will be 23 this year, which is really crazy to say, but having the ability to understand not just the process of what it's been like already, but just giving the younger generation a heads up, like, yes, this is a tough time, but once you put the hard work and effort that you've been doing for not just 1 year, 4 years, but your whole life, the outcome will definitely be the best thing you'll ever have in your life for sure.
Jordan Chiles, thank you so much. We wish you all the best as we approach these next 6 months leading up to Paris.
We love you joining us. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Coming up, the man accused of murdering 4 college students in Idaho is due back in a courtroom this morning.
The big question hanging over when the trial will start and the toll that waiting for justice is taking on the parents of the victims. Welcome back. Brian Kohberger, the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students, is expected to be back in court today. Among the issues to be settled, whether a date for the trial can finally be set. This morning, we're hearing from the family of one of the victims. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has more on what we can expect today.
Hey there. Yeah, first up today will be more procedural hearings. Brian Kohberger's team has repeatedly tried to get the grand jury indictment against him thrown out, but the bigger news may come after that. The parents of Kaylee Gonzalez told me they're hoping to get a date for the trial set for this summer.
Brian Kohberger expected back in court today for the first time in the new year, and all eyes are on whether they leave with a new trial date set.
It's time to prepare, time to get ready, and time to get some answers.
The prosecution has requested the trial be held this summer when schools are out of session. The parents of victim Kaylee Gonzalez told us if that doesn't happen, they're concerned it will be pushed to summer 2025.
We know if they don't push for this summer, we're looking at over a year, and that's mind-boggling. It's sickening.
All right. Kohberger is charged with the murder of 4 University of Idaho students, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez in November 2022. A judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf, and he said through a former attorney he believes he'll be exonerated. Steve and Christy Gonzalez preparing to again come face-to-face with the suspect in court today.
How does it feel to see Brian Kohberger in that courtroom?
It's hard to keep control of yourself, you know.
It's not fun to see this person be able to sit with a nice, tidy haircut, nice, clean shave, a suit.
Before they get to the question of the trial date, several procedural hearings. Kohberger's team asking the court to reconsider its previous decision to deny their motions to dismiss the grand jury indictment.
The more that they can complicate it and the more that they can delay it, it is harder for the state, to have to put their arms around all of this.
Earlier this month, the judge ordered the prosecution to turn over to the defense some of the DNA records they say led them to Kohberger. That's all under seal.
We just want to know about the evidence. There's just a lot of unknowns, and how long do you have to wait before you can find out about your own child's life and what happened and who did this and how do you hold them accountable.
And as Christy Gonzalez pointed out, Brian Kohberger has been allowed to wear a suit in his pretrial appearances. A former county prosecutor in Idaho told us that is highly unusual. She says in every case she's tried in her 33 years, the defendant came to court in their jail clothing for pretrial hearings. A court spokesperson told us back in June, Kohberger's attorney asked if he could wear his own clothes, and the judge agreed. Back to you.
Liz, thank you.
For more on this case, let's now bring in NBC News. Now, legal analyst Angela Sanadella. Angela, good morning. Thanks for being here. So let's start with getting a date for this, because it seems like this balance of these delays with justice, for these victims' families. When do you think we're going to get that, and how does that process work?
Well, we hope that we will actually get a date at today's hearing, so perhaps that will be solved. And, you know, you feel so much for these victims' families as you hear about them. But in the court of law, what matters most is that the defendant has a right to a fair trial. So to the extent that the defense does continue to raise motions that the judge considers to be relevant, unfortunately, the victims' families and their right to a speedy trial is not really relevant.
We know this isn't Kohberger's first attempt at trying to get the indictment thrown out. Is this argument any stronger or any different?
No, I mean, he's had so many arguments that the judge at this point has said, wow, very creative, which is not a compliment from a judge. Right. But they've thrown everything up, but that is really what a defense team should do, be vigorous in the defense of their defendant, including things like there was the wrong standard used, the jury instructions were improper, that the evidence was not shared properly with the defense. So all of these arguments were dismissed. They will continue to be dismissed, but we do hope to get a trial date today.
As we heard in Liz's piece there, the judge had ordered the prosecution to turn over these DNA records to the defense. Walk us through that.
Yes, so we as the public will not ever know what was in those records because they are sealed as part of the grand jury indictment. So that genealogy data is not even what led to the warrant or led to Kohberger, but it was almost like a family tree that determined who could be possible suspects, possible matches from the DNA that was taken from the knife sheath. So the defense there argued that they should have access because then they would know who other possible matches could be. So they are continuing to seed reasonable doubt.
All right, Angela, thank you as always.
Coming up next, a tag team edition of Flipping the Script.
How a pair of husband and wife WWE superstars are slamming competitors inside the ring and making history outside of it. That's up next.
Now to our series, Flipping the Script, featuring people on air, on stage, behind the scenes, and in the ring. We're shining a spotlight on diversity. Enter Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. It is a big week for the married WWE superstars. They'll both be at the Royal Rumble event tomorrow in Florida. And next week, their reality TV show premieres on Hulu. It's called Love and WWE, Bianca and Montez. On top of that, it was just announced this week Belair is one of the superstars on the cover of the latest edition of the popular WWE 2K video game, making history as the first black woman to be featured on that cover. I sat down with Belair and Ford a few days ago to talk about their skyrocketing careers and the importance of representation. It's Royal Rumble week. First, let's do the primer. For those who don't know what the Royal Rumble is, how do you explain it to them in an easy, digestible way?
Let's do this as a tag team. So the Royal Rumble. That's how dramatic it is. The way you get eliminated is over the top rope. The last person in that ring gets a World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania.
How big of a deal is that?
That's the biggest deal there. If anyone doesn't know what professional wrestling is or what WWE is about, this is the time. This is like essentially our playoffs.
Montez Ford and the speed taking flight now. Montez.
It's huge. I mean, this is the time of the year where you want to be at your prime. It's the grandest stage of them all, so you want to get to WrestleMania. It's stressful, it's hectic, it's nonstop. And so the Royal Rumble is very special because it just jumpstarts all of that.
Speaking of jumpstarting, look what it did to...
You won, right?
Yes,
you won in 2021.
Incredible young lady celebrating an incredible moment.
For someone like me, I was pretty new, and I actually won the Royal Rumble. I was the first black woman to ever win the Royal Rumble, and that led me to then main event WrestleMania, where I became one of the first black women to main event WrestleMania. I won a title at that match, then I won an ESPY. So that all started by winning the Royal Rumble.
So I feel like it has some meaning in your household, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. We're always ready to rumble.
Stay where she wants her. K.O.D.
Being the first black woman to win the Royal Rumble, what was the significance of that? I mean, I'm guessing when you talk to your fans, especially your young fans, and you see little black girls, how do they respond to that?
It's my why. Everything is about representation for me. And I didn't even realize I made history until after the match. It blew my mind because I wasn't even trying to make history. So I just want that to be inspiration for, you know, other little girls that look like me, people who look up to me, that like, just go after your dreams and you can make history. You don't have to go to the history books to find history. You can become history. So I want that to be inspiration for other people.
Every time I'm in the kitchen, you in the kitchen. This is my house too. I pay for 1/4 of the bills around here.
You guys have something that most superstars don't have in WWE, which is you are in a relationship, you are married. What is that like? I'm sure there's pros and cons. Let's start with the pros. What are the pros?
The pros is you get to be with each other all the time. And like essentially for us, well, I know for me, I'm not going to speak for her, I'm speaking for me. It's not fair. I know for me, that makes everything so much easier, you know, because when you do go through these peaks and valleys in life, and when you're on the road and when you're doing the WWE, you know, they're always there to comfort you. Like, you know, she's my peace.
Are there cons?
They're all cons. You know, when, you know, you want to give somebody the silent treatment, you can't because you're in the car for 4 hours. It's like, this is going to be a long car ride. So it helps us work on our communication. It's a balance of really trying to figure out when to be husband and wife and when to be a WWE superstar. It's bright. It's you.
Highlight.
You don't like
They
it?
could probably see me from space if I had it in the ring. And coming to the ring, the beam.
It's one thing to be a couple, it's another thing to have cameras follow that. You were doing a reality show called Love and WWE. It's debuting next week. What was that like being part of a reality show?
Well, you know, it was something that, you know, she used to tell me all the time that she would never do until she saw that check. No, just playing.
Like he said, I was someone who always said, I'm never going to do reality TV. I don't want to do it. And then I learned to never say never. I think I saw it as an opportunity to really just, you know, show the WWE universe who we are, not just inside the ring, but outside the ring, pull the curtain back a little bit, show who we are, but also an opportunity to show people that may not be wrestling fans, that may not know much about WWE, may not be a part of the WWE universe, show them what we're about, show them what it means to be a WWE superstar, show them that wrestling is cool.
You know, anytime I'm working with the wife, it's not work, it's pleasure, it's paradise. Paradise, you get it?
He does that a lot. I get it.
Okay.
Royal Rumble tomorrow night. Streaming on Peacock starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. There it is. We're going to use that every day for every story. Also, Love and WWE Bianca and Montez premieres on Hulu next Friday, February 2nd. There you go.
Can we get it again?
I don't know, Ken.
Yay! It's finally Friday. That's ding ding. We should use it in can't miss list.
I think, Bravo personality Darren Karp's going to want that bell now, right? She's here to help us break down all the things you need to know as we cruise into the weekend. Your can't miss list coming up next.
We are back now with, get this, some potty-mouthed parrots. Back in 2020, a British wildlife park had to isolate 5 African gray parrots because of their terrible swearing. Well, this week, this part's a little murky to me, but 3 more parrots who really like bad words were donated to the park. I don't know where they're coming from. Now staff there have hatched a new plan. All 8 of these swearing birds are going to be rehabilitated back into the flock of about 92 more polite parrots. The team hopes they'll be a good influence, but they warn there's a chance it could go the other way, where the cursing 8 actually influence the 92 nice birds. So we're going to have to keep you posted on that one. I think an update's warranted.
Rehabilitated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like they've really got a problem.
I want a reality show on that. All right,
Easy
finally this
to
hour, it is Friday, which means it's time for a weekly can't miss list. Plenty to watch, from a controversial drama about a real drug lord that's getting a lot of buzz to a documentary about the biggest night in pop music. Joining us now, Bravo personality, host of Shaken and Disturbed, Darren Karp. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. I'll try not to swear.
Please. Otherwise, we're going to have to rehabilitate you.
Yes, well, my mom was wondering, whatever.
Put you with all the other Bravo people who don't swear. And we'll see how it goes. So, Griselda has gotten tons of headlines already this week. Star Sofia Vergara.
Yes.
lawsuits,
like
legal
transformative
drama. Exactly. So tell us about the show and also the controversy, where things stand.
Yeah, I mean, this has been in the works now for 2 years. They've been talking about it. Sofia Vergara is producing this. She's obviously the star of Griselda Blanco. This takes place in Miami in the 70s and 80s with the cocaine trade going on. She's kind of considered not the kingpin, but the queen pin, kind of the mother of cocaine. She was a very popular drug lord at this time, super dangerous. They do say this series a little bit loosely based on the facts, but ultimately based on the true story. But yeah, huge lawsuit came out this week because Griselda herself actually sued for unauthorized use of likeness, which to me is a testament to the movie of how great Sofia's transformation has been. But it is gritty.
Wow, that's a good point.
It is harsh. I highly recommend it. If you were a fan of Narcos, then this is going to kind of be right up your alley. And it is loosely based on a true story, so it's kind of really interesting to see how it kind of went down. And I know it's kind of negative, but I do like it's a woman.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Well, and it's been a minute, I feel, since we've seen her.
We haven't seen her in a while. No,
Yeah.
we haven't seen her in a while. I mean, she does AGT and she does a lot of stuff, but we haven't really seen her in this, like, dramatic, serious role. So I'm really excited for that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk Masters of the Air. I mean, epic cast.
Huge.
Co-produced Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks. Like, oh my goodness. Tell us about the show.
Well, I was a huge Band of Brothers fan. I mean, I feel like that was one of the best series of all time. And it's been a long time. So this is kind of the sister to that. It is, if you liked Band of Brothers, you're going to like this. This is a 9-part episode. 9-part series on Apple. You got Austin Butler right there. He lost the Elvis voice finally. It took him a little bit, but he lost it. Barry Keoghan
Because he had it on the awards circuit,
had it
too,
on
which is
everything.
So he like still does in interviews.
It's like a little gritty. I was like, is it that deep? I don't know. But you can't really tell here. He's, you know, his
He's got an Oscar.
major. He got an Oscar. Like, get him there. Barry Keoghan off of his Saltburn run is also in this movie. Super serious. It takes place, you know, in Germany, World War II. They're behind enemy lines in a bomber, and they just have to face unrelenting German attacks. So it's just really well done. The super effects and CGI in this are beautiful.
Let's talk about a documentary for those who remember the song We Are the World.
Yes.
It was this unreal thing because he had like, what, 40 stars coming together to sing a song?
46 of the greatest pop stars of the era in Los Angeles, 1985. They have one night to get this together. Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson. You're going to pick up the phone call from them, but this is the age before email, before cell phones. They managed to get 46 stars. Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, Cyndi Lauper, Diana Ross, all in one room. You can imagine the egos in this room, which is why this documentary is so interesting, because here they are recording We Are the World for African famine. But imagine doing this all in one night. Everyone's got their own opinion, their own take, their own this. Oh, we should do this, we should do that. So this goes behind the scenes with some archival footage, has interviews with the stars who were there. You can see Bruce Springsteen laughing at some of this night. It really was the greatest night in pop. This comes out in January. It comes out on Netflix next week on Tuesday, and it's supposed to be amazing. It's really, really well done.
I had no idea that those interviews and that footage existed. How cool that it's coming out now.
Very, very cool.
Okay, this one sounds a little quirky. Animated characters interviewing real celebrities. We don't have much time left here, but tell us about this new Mike Judge comedy, In the Know.
Yeah, if it's Mike Judge, I mean, Beavis and Butthead, you're going to really like this. But yeah, this is a parody of an NPR show hosted by Lauren Caspian, who you can see him right there. He's kind of this, you know, Ira Glass kind of guy. Hosted the third most popular NPR show, so he has real-life interviews with people. It's witty, it's quirky, it's super funny. I think they can kind of go there because of the animation in a way that they couldn't before. But I really, really like it. If you're an NPR fan and you sort of get how you can easily make fun of it, it's the perfect show for you. It's on Peacock.
Love it while making fun of it. That's the key. All right. Darren Carp.
That's us, yes.
Thank you so much.
Always
Check out some wrestling now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us because the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.